The tragic tale of King Bran the Blessed, Lord of the Ravens. Welsh mythology is one of the richest in the planet, blending natural beauty and pageantry with a wistful mourning for a lost world. The great poems of Welsh lore contain stories for all time, and few figures stand out as much as the legendary king and giant Bran the Blessed. This great hero, celebrated for his association with ravens and his role in various Celtic myths and legends, was long revered as a powerful and wise ruler, often depicted as a giant and protector. His connection to ravens symbolized prophecy, wisdom, and the otherworldly realm. Today he may be forgotten by many, but his story lives on in the medieval chronicles, the Welsh triads. Bran's stories are rich with themes of sacrifice, honor, and the mystical, making him a compelling figure in Celtic folklore and the subject of fascination for scholars and enthusiasts alike. He was a hero, giant, and a king. Bran the Blessed, or Bene Geifrin, Bran Fedigigan, in his native Welsh, was a giant and king of Britain in ancient mythology. He was said to be the son of the god Lear and his wife Penarden. Little information is left about these two figures except for their offspring, who all played major roles in collections of texts called the Welsh Triads. His sister Branwen plays a pivotal role in the earliest Welsh prose stories, the Mabinogi, and in particular Branwen Fair Lear. His three brothers, Manawydan, Nisian, and Efnisien, also appear in these tales, with Efnisien acting as a sadistic antihero in his sister's story. Bran's name translates to Blessed Raven or Blessed Crow. He's usually depicted as being a giant of both stature and heart, revered as a mighty but just king, and in folklore his kingdom was centered around Harlech, a picturesque coastal town nestled in the heart of Gwynedd in Wales, where his royal court flourished amidst the rugged beauty of the landscape. In most tales, Bran is portrayed as being benevolent and wise, renowned for his compassion and sense of justice. He's particularly loyal to his sister, and when war threatens to engulf his realm, Bran intervenes to safeguard his sister and his people, demonstrating his unwavering loyalty and bravery in the face of adversity. So, what are these stories? Branwen Fairlich is at its heart a poignant saga that epitomizes Bran's unwavering courage and selflessness. This tale begins with the Irish king Matholch sailing to Bran's kingdom, the island of the mighty Britain, to ask for Branwen's hand in marriage to ally with the two powers. Bran readily agrees, but things take a turn for the worse when Efnisien turns up and begins mutilating the Irish king's horses. Efnisien is offended that his permission was not sought, and the Irish king threatens to call off their alliance. The wise Bran calms things down by offering Matholwich a magical cauldron that can bring the dead back to life. The king is pleased with these reparations and heads back to Ireland with his new bride. When Branwen arrives in Ireland, her new subjects instantly fall in love with her, lavishing gifts upon their new queen. Branwen's status only improves when she produces a son, Gwern. The Irish rejoice, and for a few years it seems like everyone will be living happily ever after. Tragically, her popularity brings down upon her the jealousy of Matholwich's court. His advisors begin to dwell on the maiming of the king's forces and argue that justice was not done. They tell their king he acted like a coward, and Branwen must be punished for her brother's misdeed. The foolish king listens and bans his wife from the court, sending her to work in the kitchens, and there she's mistreated by the staff, bullied, and even beaten. This mistreatment lasts for 3 years, and Branwen's only solace is found in her taming of a wild starling. Eventually, she writes a letter pleading for help and attaches it to her little friend. The starling makes its way to Bran's court and delivers the message. Upon reading the letter, the usually calm Bran is filled with despair and fury. He marshals his forces and declares war on Ireland, determined to rescue his beloved sister. Bran personally leads his army to Ireland, wading through the Irish Sea, as no ship could carry him. Upon his arrival on the Irish shores, Bran finds that the bridge spanning the great river Shannon has been destroyed, stranding his troops. Bran declares the man who would lead his people must first become a bridge, and stands in the river's currents, acting as a bridge so that his men may cross. This terrifies the Irish, who immediately declare that they will make amends for Branwen's mistreatment by making her son, Gwern, king. Bran is not convinced by this, however, so the Irish also offer to build him a great house so that he may be close to his sister. He only accepts after Branwen implores him to do so, not wanting there to be bloodshed. This deal turns out to be a trap. The Irish hide 100 soldiers throughout the house, instructed to kill Bran the second he lets his guard down during a feast held there in his and his nephew's honor. Luckily, Efnisien turns up and demands to inspect the house. He finds and crushes the skull of every soldier he finds. An obvious Gwern then arrives. An oblivious Gwern, his nephew, then arrives, overjoyed to meet his new relatives. Everything is going well until the ever-prickly Efnisien once again takes offense at a perceived slight and decides to throw his nephew into the fire. Branwen attempts to save her son and dives into the fire but is rescued by Bran at the last minute. A huge fight then breaks out. Bran and his army are victorious, but in the last minute the Irish produce a magic pot, just as they are about to resurrect all their fallen men, dooming Bran's army. Efnisien decides on one last act of valor and sacrifices himself to destroy the pot. The end of Bran. Tragically, Efnisien was not the only one to die. During the fighting, Bran was also mortally wounded, and as he lay on his deathbed, he told his troops, "Cut my head off and take it to London. Eventually you must bury it in the state of the White Hill of London, turning my head towards France." His men did as they were told and ceremonially beheaded their king before heading home. Upon arriving in Wales, Branwen died of a broken heart, concluding the tragic tale. According to the triads, Bran's head was buried where the Tower of London stands today. It was said that as long as it was left there, England would never fall to invasion. Later, King Arthur is claimed to have dug up the head, believing his strength to be enough to protect the kingdom. As the Lord of Ravens, Bran's legacy endures in the hearts and minds of the Welsh people, a symbol of sovereignty and the enduring bond between man and nature. Some point to the still practiced tradition of keeping ravens at the tower and argue Bran's spirit lives on, continuing to protect the kingdom he sacrificed everything for. It's true, the Parliament Buildings, Tower of London area has the crows there, and we were told that their wings were clipped so they would never be able to fly off because they wanted the crows to always be there. Now, this is by Robbie Mitchell on Historic Mysteries. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. My Patreon account, the daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.